gentlemen.
Conversations, others aboard. The What If Show, hosted by Darius Davis, where real issues meet real people. On community leaders to athletes, activists to everyday voices. If it matters to people, it matters here.
Where the truth, you know, ain't the only truth that exists.
What if change started with a conversation?
Every street got a story, every block got a legend, every city got a what if, every rumor got a message. We take the myth, the whispers in the night, flip the script, shine a light, turn the shadows into sight. What if studio?
The What If Show.
All right, so today I'd like to welcome everybody into the What If Show. I'm your host, Darius Davis, and right now I got a guy by the name of Monte Lewis, former professional defensive lineman from Abbeville, Alabama, standout Abbeville High School, went on to play college football at Jacksonville State University before pursuing a professional career with NFL team, CFL, and Arena League in international football. Today we're talking about his journey, lessons learned, and the life after football. So I'm gonna allow you to kind of introduce yourself to everybody, Monte. I know I kind of tried to introduce you a little bit, but I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. So I'm Monte Lewis. I was raised in Abbeville, Alabama. Lived my whole life there up until I went off to college. Played D1 football at Jacksonville State, where I played defensive end and a little outside linebacker. Stayed there all 4 years, did very well there, had all the accolades and everything, and eventually ended up signing a contract with the Washington Redskins in 2012. And from, spending a little short time there, and then I ended up going to Canada to play football after that for 2 different teams. And my last 5 or 6 years, I played arena football. And now I'm a realtor here in Tampa, Florida. I'm a part owner of a home staging company, which, I do every day, and just recently got into some modeling and acting, and now even bodybuilding too. So do a little bit of everything, staying busy, and but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh man, that's awesome, man. Like I said, I'm proud to hear you say that, man. That is amazing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So what is the first time, I like to ask you, that you got interested in football growing up?
Man, a lot of people don't know this, but I did not like football growing up, which sounds crazy, for me to, have the career that I did have. But yeah, I wasn't into it. I was a baseball player. That was my first sport, and had no interest whatsoever in football. And the only reason that I started playing was because of my cousin, Donovan Owens. He was the one that signed up first, and then I was, me growing up, I was the only child, so my cousins, they were like my brothers and sisters, so I just didn't want to get left behind. And I think the story behind that was that we were actually having a baseball game, and I think one of the Pee Wee football coaches came out and seen him running, stealing bases and stuff like that, got him to play football. And so, like I said, I just didn't want to get left behind, and so I just signed up, and that started my career. But yeah, like I said, I did not enjoy it probably until I say probably my junior year in high school. That's when I kind of locked in and was like, okay, this can be good for me. And but yeah, definitely did not like it growing when I first started out.
Oh, awesome, man. That is awesome. So kind of, were there any inspirations in your life? Like, I know you talked about your cousin Donovan. He kind of, helped you get started with it, but there any inspiration in your life, or like family or people like that kind of inspired you along the way, especially with, sports?
Yeah. I mean, I had some of my family, they were very athletic. I had cousins that played football and some played basketball and stuff like that. And like I said, baseball was kind of my first sport that I really loved. But, I just always been competitive. And, I was kind of a bigger kid growing up, but I was always athletic and, pretty fast. And so, even classmates and friends and stuff like that, just growing up in the neighborhood, playing basketball with some of the, the older men. And they used to really make us go at it, and we would play against them. So I think that's kind of where the competitive edge came from, really, honestly, just, playing on the basketball goal up on the tree with the grown folks. And, since then, I've always been kind of competitive and had that edge on me, and just kind of took it from there. So that was pretty much most of my inspiration, just growing up around friends and family, people in the neighborhood.
All right, yeah, because where we're from, a lot of times not much to do but to play sports.
Yeah, that's it. Ain't too many other things you can do, not a lot of, no amusement parks or anything like that. So you really just grow up being outside the whole time. And that's pretty much what I did, just, stayed outside and stayed active.
Most definitely, most definitely. So at what point did you realize football could really take you somewhere?
My junior year in high school. And again, I was still not really into it. I just played it because I could, and, I was beginning to get good at it. But it wasn't until, Coach White came my junior year in high school, and, he kind of took over the program, kind of changed the culture, and, started making guys more accountable and stuff like that. And really, we changed that program around in a year. So, and like I said, he was only there for 2 years, but yeah, that senior year, we ended up going to the second round of the playoffs, which is something that we hadn't done in a while. But it was him coming to me. I remember this, where he came up to me one day, and he just looked at me. He was like, "Do you want to play college football?" And I looked him in his eye and I told him, "I don't know," because I didn't know that was an option for me. I didn't know if I could do that. I had never thought about it. And so, I told him I don't know, and he looked at me again. He was like, "Well, just buy in, do what I tell you to do, and I'm gonna get you there." He's like, "I'm gonna help you get you there." And I said, "Okay." And I did exactly that. I listened to everything he told me, and just bought in. And from there, I had, people looking at me, and I ended up, going to Jacksonville State.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. So we just think about, our hometown, Abbeville. How did that kind of help shape your work ethic?
Oh, it's everything. If you ask anybody down here, anywhere anybody that I know or anywhere that I've lived, they can tell you exactly where I'm from, because I talk about it all the time. They know I'm the small town country boy with the hard work ethic. And Abbeville did everything for me as far as work ethic. Also my mom as well too, and my dad. But just growing up in a small country town like we're from, there's not a lot of resources. So you learn to do without. You learn how to be very resourceful, and you're just willing to do the extra stuff that a lot of people take for granted. A lot of the stuff that people complain about, I don't complain about, because I'm like, okay, I've dealt with way worse, or I've had way less. And so, for me, it's natural. It comes easy versus somebody else that, maybe they've been spoiled or, had some stuff handed out to them, and, they kind of take for granted. I'm like, well, I grew up with this, or I grew up without that. So, growing up in Abbeville, that definitely gave me all the work ethic I needed to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, man, that is amazing, man. Because like I say, I tell people that every day, man. Growing up in Abbeville, you had to really be one.
Yeah, you really had to. Like I said, the lack of resources and stuff like that, you begin to get innovative, and like I said, you always find a way. Always find a way.
Most definitely, most definitely. Can you think of some of the lessons maybe that you learned growing up there that stick with you to this day?
Well, one, like you said, work ethic is going to be, the main thing. Learning how to, take the minimum and making the most out of it. Not complaining, knowing that nothing is going to be given to you. And, if you work, keep a level head, and, set your mind to doing something that, you really can achieve it. It's out there. You might have to do a little extra work, or you might have to do something not like everybody else, but there's the old saying, I'm pretty sure you've heard, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I think that's kind of what a lesson that I learned from being at home. Like, somebody else might get here some other way, and I might have to go a different route, but just because my route is different doesn't mean I can't attain that goal. Like I said, it might take longer. It might be, not the easiest route, but eventually, I'll get there.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So I think about this, man, Abbeville football, man. Can you remember a big moment in your Abbeville football career that kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, man, going to the playoffs. Like I said, I didn't have like the best experience growing up. Definitely in like with my high school career of football, because it was like years where we went 0-10. So, just like winning is a habit, losing also is too. And that's kind of where we were at, up until like, that junior, senior year. And so I think we got recognized for being like, the team of the week or something like that at one point. And then, just going into that playoff game, playing against some of those better teams up north. And I think the first team we played against was Calera. And, I had a great game. And that's definitely a moment that will always, stand out. Just, being able to accomplish that, definitely since it hadn't been done in so long.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, can you think about one of the most challenging times in your Abbeville high school career?
After the tornado, we didn't have a weight room, and we didn't have a weight room. So, the tornado took away all the buildings, and the only thing we had was the cement slab that was over by the ROTC building. So, what we did was we got all the straight bars, like the weightlifting bars, and we just had free weights literally out there on that hot concrete slab, and it gets hot down there in the summer. So, we're out there lifting, and that metal's getting hot, and Coach White screaming and cussing at us and stuff like that. That was definitely challenging. Even practicing on the field, because the practice field was the parking lot. So, it wasn't in the best conditions. It was all bumpy and rocky, and I think it was some barbed wire out there still on the field. So, I remember some guys that got stuck with some wire, and then the sticker brows on the field. So, just the training in general, and just normal day-to-day stuff that people don't have to deal with. I think we had to deal with it every day. So every day was a challenge.
Yeah, man. A lot of people don't talk about the struggles that you guys had on the football field. I remember, the struggles we had basketball-wise.
Yeah.
The struggles that y'all had on the football field, they were real too.
Yeah. And I know one weekend we actually had to go out there and mow that hill, like, in the stadium. Like, so everybody was out there with, their lawnmowers and weed eaters and everything. And so we like up and down the hill just trying to get all the grass and stuff off of it. So, that was definitely challenging. But, looking back on it now, it's a fun memory.
Yeah. Kind of walk me through your ninth grade year and kind of how you felt about football in Abbeville and how things kind of turned around, and kind of walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. So ninth grade year, which was my freshman year, again, not really liking it. And then also, I didn't play any defense, even though I went to school as a defensive end. Like my 9th and 10th grade year, I did not play any defense. I was just kind of just out there going through the motions. And so, but I ended up starting at center. And that's that's what kept me on the field. And, we didn't have a lot of players either. I think we might have had like maybe 13 players. Cause I think at one point I was on the sideline. I think it was like one other person next to me. So, it wasn't no room for getting hurt or anything like that, because the same 11 that you had starting on offense had to be the same 11 that started on defense. And so, like I said, I'm just out there snapping the ball, not really, into it. And, and then going into my sophomore year, I actually quit at the beginning of the season. I remember I was like, I didn't think I had a future with football. And so I was like, I'm going to be the water boy. And I remember, going into that spring, I think we played against like a little scrimmage game against Zion Chapel, and I really was the water boy going into that season. And I think the team had went to Mississippi State for a football camp. I didn't go. I was not playing football, and somehow I ended up getting talked back into it, with some friends and stuff like that. But yeah, them first 2 years, they were bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
I know.
bad.
I heard about it, man. Heard about it.
Yeah,
What about this?
not a lot of
Talk about
structure and stuff on the team. So
yeah, and talk about that turnaround a little bit, man. Like, kind of what took place to make the program turn around. Going into your 11th, 12th grade year.
yeah, it was literally Coach White came in, and it was just somebody that came in that had experience at that next level. He had played college football, he had played in the NFL, and he came from winning programs and stuff like that. So basically, he took what he had and just implemented it into us. And the only thing he wanted us to do was buy in. So it was like, the little things are what makes the difference. And at that time, it was kind of hard to understand, but now looking back at it, it makes perfectly sense. And so what he did was he came in and he put structure within that team. So it was like, okay, we got a lot of great athletes. We got a lot of great talent. Actually, man, some of the best talent I've ever seen have came from that school. Like some of the guys before me, some of the guys that played with me, after, me going to college and stuff like that, I'm like, there's a lot of guys from this school that should have played at the next level, like hands down, like way better than some guys that I played with in college and on the professional level. Yeah. But like I said, we just didn't have that structure and discipline until he came around. And so, like I said, he came in, he was like, all football players got to have the shirts tucked in. And, a lot of guys were stubborn, didn't want to do it. So he's like, okay, if you don't want to do it, then we don't need you. We want guys who are going to be here, on this team, have the same goal and stuff like that. Walk the same walk, we'll talk the same talk. So, having your earrings out. And, it was just those little things that we started doing every day consistently and making sure we did it. And even like after school, it was no more going, to the petrol and hanging out. It's like go straight to the field house. And he literally had a timer like set for us, like, okay, you get out of school at this time, you better be here at this time, be ready for practice, tape or whatever, and get ready to go. So all of the extra stuff that was going on prior to that basically stopped. And I think like once everybody bought into doing that, that's what made the difference.
Yeah, man, that really was amazing. I got a chance to see some of that, kind of from the side, and that was really amazing turnaround. So kind of talk to me about maybe your senior year, a little after senior year, and you began to get recruiting process. So did you have any looks from many schools, or how did that recruitment process work?
Again, just being where we were located and the years prior to, like, we didn't get a lot of looks there for football. We were a basketball school. Like, people know us for basketball. And it's crazy. Like, even after I'm going, went to college, like, nobody heard of Abbeville football. As soon as you say the basketball team, like, everybody knew who it was. And so that's kind of how it was. But like I said, I finally got some film on tape and stuff like that. And, I actually had like assistant class or whatever with Coach White, and because he was a TOR teacher, so I would go in there like for a period, and then just kind of go through film and just kind of make my tapes or whatever. And then it was a VCR, so I got one tape on a VCR and then a blank one and the other one, and we just recording or whatever like that. And he's started sending it out to schools and stuff, and eventually some colleges saw it and they wanted to take a look. And I remember, I think Alcorn State might have been one. The Citadel actually came to the school, and they actually kind of wanted me to come up there, but me not knowing that they were a military school at the time, they were like, "You're gonna have to cut your hair." And so I kind of like, I lost interest. Like, instantly, like, I'm not cutting my hair. And then I don't even think, JSU came. I remember Coach Sullivan, he came down to the school, and then Alabama State was another one. And when it came down to it, Alabama State and JSU were like at the top of my list. I think Iowa State might have been another one too. But yeah, JSU and Alabama State were the two that were like really, really interested in wanting me to come there. But like I said, I finally got some film, and my senior year, I really kind of took off. I became dominant. Whereas like, I actually played both sides of the ball. I don't think a lot of people know I played offensive tackle, and I actually won awards for like the best in the wild grass and everything as an offensive lineman. And half of my highlight film was actually me playing offensive tackle, and the other half of me was playing defensive end. So yeah, we were just trying to get in there any way we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about what made you make that decision. What surprised you about Jacksonville State and made you say, hey, I'm gonna sign on the line with Jacksonville State?
Man, it was actually easy. And the reason being that, and I don't want to, sound like I'm talking bad about, Alabama State or anything like that. But I went on the visit to Alabama State. I drove up there. It was actually me and Marcus Silk. We both went on a visit to Alabama State. And so we get there, and remind you, we these small town country boys, like, there's a lot of stuff that we ain't been exposed to. And so, and me, I've always been laid back, on the quiet side. So we went up there, and they have like some of the guys on the team take you out, for the night or whatever. So I just know we ended up at a Q-Dog party. Like, it was in this house, under a bridge somewhere in Montgomery. And I don't know, I just did not feel comfortable there. And I'm like, Silk, like I'm ready to go. And he was the same way. And so I couldn't find my host, like didn't know where he was at. Like, I literally saw him when he picked us up, and that was it. Like, I did not see him anymore after that. And so like, it's like late. It's like, early in the morning now. And so I'm like, we don't even know how to get back to the hotel. At that time, it wasn't we didn't have no GPS or nothing. Like, it was like MapQuest. So I'm like, I'm ready to go. I don't know these people. And, this just ain't my type of environment. So, man, we literally walked outside, and we waved down somebody. I remember it was a band that came by in front of the frat house. And we literally went out there with our thumbs out, and they stopped, and we asked them like, hey, do you know where this hotel is at? And they were like, yeah. And we jumped in the car with a random person, and they took us back to the hotel. And so when I got back to the hotel, I'm saying, I had packed my bags up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going here. So I tried to leave, and so I reached out, and one of the players saw me, and they started, I was about to leave. And so they reached out, I guess, to the staff or somewhere, somebody at Alabama State. And they were like, and they actually sent Reggie Barlow to get me. He was well-known Alabama State player, and then, played in NFL, stuff like that. So Reggie Barlow actually came and picked me up like in his truck the next morning. He's like, you gotta see if the coach is gonna offer you. And at that time, I didn't even know what an offer was. I didn't know that you actually go on these recruiting visits to to get a scholarship or whatever. I'm just thinking I'm just up there. I didn't know they were about to offer me. So he came and picked me up. He was like, man, just stay. We'll see the coach tomorrow, and then, see how it goes. So he came and picked me up, and I went, met with the head coach. And I don't know, I just kind of felt pressured when I was talking to the coach. He was like, he's like, you're going to come in here, like, you're going to start, like, you're going to be our guy. But it was like he was needing an answer from me right then and there without me seeing my other options or whatever. And, I just don't like being put in that, situation, like, let me, go with my options, then I'll get back to you or whatever. So, but just from that recruiting visit alone, that was enough for me not want to go there. So I ended up going to Jacksonville State like a week or so later. And, again, some of the players came to pick me up for the recruiting visit, but it was more of my vibe. Like, we went to a little house party or whatever, but everybody there was just, I don't know, they actually spoke to me and, was telling me about the recruiting process and how it was at JSU. And I don't know, I just felt a little bit more at ease and felt comfortable there. And I was like, I feel like this is the place that I want to be, because I feel like I can be around these guys. I feel like these guys are going to, take me in and teach me a lot of stuff. And then also, like the next day, like my mom and stepdad was actually with me. And so they met with the head coach. He sat down and actually told them their plan for me. And he was like, we'll probably redshirt him. We want to put some more size on him and stuff like that. But they was like, don't buy him any clothes because he's going to grow out of them. He won't be able to wear them, next year. And, my mom liked it up there. And, that was enough for me right there. I just felt like, it felt more like home. And, I liked the environment and everything. So it was an easy decision. Like like after I left there, I was like, okay, this is where I'm going.
Okay. Awesome, man. That's awesome, man. Like I said, man, that first impression.
Yeah, the first
Makes a
impression is
huge
everything.
difference, man.
Big difference, yeah.
Makes a huge difference. So let me ask you this question. I know you. I think you said you might have redshirted your first year.
Mhm.
What was the big adjustment from high school, from being in Abbeville to going to Jacksonville State? What was the big adjustment from like high school football to Jacksonville State football?
The speed of the game. The
I hear that a lot.
speed, yeah, the speed changes a lot. Because now it's like, you're on a high school team and you got, a few players here and there that are good. You might have a good running back on the team. You might have a good receiver on the team. You might have one fast dude or whatever. But now you get to college, the playing field kind of levels out. Now most everybody is good. They're there for a reason. And, everybody's a little bit faster. Even the linemen and stuff get faster. So, that was the biggest thing. And, the hits got harder.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that was kind of like the biggest change, just adapting to the speed of the game. And, just knowing that eyes are always on you. It's less room for error. So you got to make sure, mentally, like you got everything under control, because like ain't no, going out there and guessing. Like you got to know what you're doing. And like I said, you were watching film. Like in high school, we didn't get to watch a lot of film because, we just didn't, we didn't have the resources and stuff. And, it was harder to do it on the VHS tape and stuff like that. We watched what we could, but, once you get to that D1 college level, like you probably watch more film than anything. And they're going to call you out and call you out on your BS, and they're going to know if you know what you're doing or not. So, the mental part of it and the speed of the game was probably the biggest difference.
Okay. What is one of your favorite college football memories when you was at Jacksonville State?
The Florida State game. Reason being is because, even though, I'm from Alabama, I was always a Florida State fan growing up. And so just that week of preparation, getting ready for them, and, my coaches and teammates knew that I was a Florida State fan. I mean, I got an autograph picture from Bobby Bowden at my mom's house now that I got when I was in middle school. And so, they were like making jokes and everything, leading up to the game. They're like, Monte, don't be out here asking for autographs on the field and stuff like that from the players. And so, just the whole preparation that whole week for the game, and then the actual game was crazy. Just being in that stadium and, hearing the war chant and everything like that, seeing Bobby Bowden, Mickey Andrews, and, these other guys that, grew up looking at. And, even some of these players, I'm like, I know them because I watch them and, see what they do. So, yeah, that was definitely one of the highlight moments of my college career. Never forget it.
Okay. So I want to ask you a little bit more about your college career. So what kind of did college teach you about life beyond football? What did you kind of learn about, college, beyond football, just football wise?
Man, one of the biggest things, well, for one, I had a military strength and conditioning coach in college. And Coach Austin, man, he taught me so much. And even like as far as my position coaches and my head coach and everything like that, like I would say that I was blessed to have a lot of great coaches around me while I was at JSU. And just football and college in general, it taught me time management for one. And and just doing everything that you're supposed to do. Because once you get to that college level, you have people like literally coming around monitoring your classes, making sure you're in there, doing what you're supposed to do. And the thing is, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, like, there's repercussions for it. And me being the person that I am, I just never wanted to be that guy to make it fall on somebody else, because as an athlete, it's like one person mess up, everybody mess up. So
Everybody.
From there, I kind of learned, time management, being, late is, you know the whole saying is, you 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Yes,
So,
sir.
just it really just taught me responsibility and structure. I would say those are some of the biggest things: responsibility, structure, and discipline as well. And just doing a lot of repetitive things, for 4 years straight, they kind of get instilled in you, and they carry over with you like after football into the real world. And that's one of the biggest adjustments, having to deal with post football, because everybody isn't like that, and you find it out real quick once you step out into the real world. Like, everybody is not an athlete, everybody's not a football player. And so it's a constant struggle of having to work with people who aren't on the same page as you. So but I'm definitely glad that I did learn those valuable lessons while I was in college, because they definitely help with a lot of the stuff that I have going on today.
Okay. Now, looking at situation where you graduated Jacksonville State,
Mhm.
I know you're looking in the future and some opportunities arise. Kind of walk me through that situation and how you dealt with that situation, right after you graduated.
Well, again, man, I like I said, I didn't coming out of high school, I did not know that I would have had an opportunity to play college football, like D1 college football. Never crossed my mind. And even in college, towards the beginning of my career there, I never thought that I would sign an NFL contract. Like I said, I was a great college athlete. I was, preseason All-American, preseason Defense Player of the Year, all conference. So I had all the accolades, but it still didn't sit with me that I would actually play, in the NFL. And so I don't think it really hit me until going into maybe like part way through my junior year and then going into my senior year, because, I started getting, calls from agents and stuff like that. And then, going into my senior year, you get the NFL scouts coming in. And it was like literally like every day there was a team like coming in, pulling me out of class and, wanting to sit down and talk. And I think like while I was there, it was like me and another guy, who would kind of handle the list. AJ Davis, he was one of our defensive backs. I think 31 out of the 32 NFL teams came to that school and kind of, talked to us. And so literally it was like, getting pulled out of class, just going in for interviews and stuff like that. And so, once I started seeing that happen, I was like, okay, this is real. Like, I really got an opportunity, to go do this. But, me, I was just enjoying the journey there at the school. Like, I love the school, academically wise, and, playing sports and stuff. And I was just enjoying my time up there. And like I said, once those college scouts and stuff started coming in, but I mean, those NFL scouts started coming in, I was like, okay, there might be an opportunity for me to actually do this. And, it did happen.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. So kind of walk me through, man, you signing that NFL contract, man, and what was going through your mind at that time when you signed the NFL contract?
And it was, I don't know, it was still like hard to believe. The Redskins were the team that reached out to me, and they was like, you coming to Washington or whatever. And so I remember I was at my apartment when it happened. It was like right after the draft was over with. And another one of my teammates that lived right above me, like, I think he ended up getting the phone call around the same time I did. So it was both of us together. And, I still just couldn't believe it. I'm like, dang, like, just coming from, little small country town, had no aspiration to play football whatsoever. And then somehow I'm signing the NFL contract. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, I really could not believe that happened. So, I was just overwhelmed. I was also happy. I couldn't wait to, tell my folks and stuff like that. And, still very humble about it. Because like I said, like, this just doesn't happen, to someone like me. And, but yeah, I definitely, I'm very thankful that it did happen, and, was able to experience a lot of good stuff from it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Looking at, when you signed with Washington, with the Redskins, What surprised you the most about going from college into the pros? What's the difference? Um,
So and it's the same difference from high school to college to pro. The game speeds up, and then the mental part of it, like. But once you at the NFL level, like it's really more mental than anything. Like you really got to know what you're doing. But but definitely like the speed of the game. Because not everybody's fast. Like
Mhm.
you got 300 and something pound linemen that are moving side to side like crazy. Like I said, I've run against teams that ran a triple option. Like Georgia Tech runs it probably better than anybody. But if you ever seen like Robert Griffin running it, actually, well, he was a track athlete in college and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It hit a lot different. So,
Yeah.
and then you get some of these fast receivers and stuff like that are running up on you like really fast. Whenever you're at the outside linebacker position, like it's a big difference. But like I said, the mental aspect of it, because when you get into these meeting rooms and you see a lot of those veterans who've been there for a long time, man, they know everything that's going on the field. Like I had the pleasure to being in the same huddle as London Fletcher.
Mm.
And like I said, London Fletcher was somebody that I, grew up seeing playing when he was with the Rams. Like I think maybe I was playing with him on PlayStation. But
Yeah.
this man is still playing like, almost 40 years old. And just the knowledge that he had, like we would be in the meeting rooms and he knew everybody's position. He knew all the defensive line positions, the ends, the tackles. He knew what the DBs had. He could call out the play from the offense before they even snapped the ball, just from a pre-snap read. Like it was
Mm.
just something amazing to see, like how much he knew. And it's like that all around, man. Everybody is just very knowledgeable of the game. Like they really take time to study the game. They watch a lot of film. And I think that's really the biggest thing, just knowing what you got and also what everyone else has, and that's only going to make you a better player.
Man, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. Can you think about just one thing while you was with the Redskins that kind of helped shape you, one experience with the Redskins that you had?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think that being prepared, it taught me, how to, that you should be prepared for everything. Because one of the things for me, going into the NFL, like I played defensive end the majority of my career at Jacksonville State. I didn't play a lot of outside linebacker. I was too stubborn. I didn't want to play it. I wanted to put my
Mm.
hand down. And it's funny because the outside linebacker coach, when I was at JSU, he was like, if you go to the NFL, you're gonna play outside linebacker.
Mm.
Definitely if I was like going to a team that had a 3-4 defense where you got these defensive ends who are like almost 300 pounds. And so, I wasn't gonna be there.
Yeah.
So, and it just so happened I ended up going to a team that ran a 3-man front, and so that's exactly what happened. They put me out there outside linebacker because I was big enough, but I was also athletic enough to be able to cover a receiver if needed. And so, but like I said, by doing that though, it was still kind of new to me, even though I had done it a little bit, but it was still very new to me, and it was a lot that I didn't know. And I wish it was something, that I had kind of took a little bit more serious, like while I was in college, because I would at least, had the basics down. And so, me going into the NFL, not having a lot of experience at outside linebacker, like I had to kind of like learn on the fly. And, it was really like a foreign language to me. Like I wasn't used to seeing, coverages. I wasn't used to like, having to know the receivers, like knowing what number they were or what letter they were and stuff like that. And so, it really showed me that, you should just, be prepared, for any situation that you're going in. So that way you don't have to play catch up, once that the situation presents itself to you.
Okay, awesome, man. So when you take a look at it, man, and towards your career kind of ended in the NFL,
Mhm.
what other, I knew you had some other opportunities start opening up. How did you get involved into the other opportunities?
As far as like what I'm doing now.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I know you played a little AFL, right?
Yeah, I played in the CFL in Canada. I signed 2 different contracts up there, and then yeah, I played like 5 or 6 years in arena, which I freaking love. Like arena was
Yeah.
probably the most fun that I had. But I would say, the takeaway from that is like be open to new things. Also networking, like meet
Mm.
people. And that was something
Right.
that I had to learn because I've always been like, so shut off. And I wouldn't say I'm anti, but I'm just not the person to go up to somebody and speak or whatever. I'm not going to speak to somebody unless they speak to me.
Yeah.
But, as I'm growing and, as I evolve, like, over my football career, like I really realized that like connections is everything. Like
Mm.
always be good to people, be nice to people, even if, they might not be the best towards you, but, get to know people, just be a good person to people. And I promise you, like good things will happen because, at some point that person, might reach back out to you because they be like, hey, I remember this guy. He was, really nice to me or whatever. Like I might can use him for this, or vice versa. Like I might meet somebody that, I might not need them now, but later on down the road, I might could use them for something like that. So, just like I said, being a good person and networking and meeting as many people as possible.
Awesome, man. So let's kind of talk about what you're doing now and how your, college and NFL career got you ready for what you're doing now.
All right. So, yeah, man, this is wild. So I, prior to me, finishing my last season on playing, like I knew that it was going to end at some point.
Yeah.
And, I picked this up from coaches that I had played with, but I mean, that I had been coached by who had also, been at this point in their lives or whatever. So they was like, it's going to end at some point. Like you can't play forever. And I knew that. Like I wasn't one of those guys, who like, no, I'm going to play forever, like blah, blah, blah. So, I've always been like very realistic with myself. So what I did was I hired a career agent probably about 2 years before I finished playing, just to kind of get some ideas about, what I could possibly do. Even though I had my degree and everything like that, like I just wanted to, hear some different options and stuff like that. So that's what I did. And so she was actually the PR person for the Denver Broncos at one point.
Mm.
And so what she told me was, she said most of her clients that she have are former football players and military. And she said that's literally like who all she coached most of the time, because she said we have a lot of the same problems, that we deal with once we finish playing, because, we're so used to, being disciplined, being structured, and then we step out into, the general public, and, a lot of people are the complete opposite, and we have a hard time adjusting. And I find that to be so true once I finish playing. And regular 9 to 5 just not going to do it. For some people it works, but for a lot of people it don't work. And so what I did was I played with some teammates who were from here in Tampa, and I ended up coming back here because it was, again, like I played here in 2017, and it was probably the place where I liked the most. So I ended up coming here, and plus I also had like some teammates that came here. So I ended up moving here, and I ended up getting a job at a sports performance facility. And so, I did that for about 4 years, and, eventually, that came to an end. I felt like I just wanted to do something else. And the thing is, whenever you play a particular sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, or whatever, and definitely when you do it at a professional level, people tend to put you in a box, and they, they just assume that you want to be like a trainer or you want to be a coach or something like that. But it's far from the truth for a lot of guys. Some guys, they do want to go that route, but, I just never I never wanted to be a coach. Like I said, I did the sports performance coaching for a while, which I enjoyed for a bit. Like I worked with a lot of kids and a lot of athletes, some college and professional athletes as well too. But, I don't think I was like truly passionate about it. I have a passion for it, but I don't think I'm fully passionate about it. So, I began to kind of look for other things to do because like my biggest thing was just my time. And like, before we started this interview, you asked me how often do I get to come home. And so, when I was playing football, like I would come home maybe once a year. And it's so like when you're on that coaching schedule or that training schedule where you're working with athletes, and sports never stop. It's a year-round thing. And I don't think people realize like how much time like athletes really put into what they're doing. Like it's really there's no off season. And so when you're coaching and stuff, you're still on those athletes' schedule. You're probably putting in more time than they are. So you really don't have any time now, whether it's holidays or whatever, like you're doing something. So, I just kind of wanted to step away from that and, just kind of see what else was, out there. Like at this point, I'm starting to get curious. I'm like, there has to be something else that, that I can, that I can do that I'm good at. So, had a friend of mine and, she asked me about real estate. And I'm like, no, I don't talk enough to people. Like, there's no way, like, I can't sell anything. And so she was like, no, you don't gotta talk to people. You just gotta make people like you. And she was like, you're a likable person. So, so this was like, I don't know, like years before I actually got my real estate license. So, but at one point I had got to the point where I was like, okay, I gotta do something else. So I ended up, leaving the job that I was at the sports performance facility. And I, got my real estate license, and I did it, in less than 2 months. Like I did the crash courses and everything. I went ahead and got them. And so, I've been doing that for a few years now, but that also led me to the home staging, which I am part owner of. And so basically what I do is I go in and basically decorate people's houses before they get ready to sell them, because, as a buyer, you walk into these houses and they're empty. Like some people don't have a vision to see what it's going to look like. But, whenever you have like furniture in there, it gives you a totally different perspective for it. So before the agent lists the house, like they'll hire us, and then we go in and set it up and, just to give the buyer something to look at. And it also increases the sale of the home. So, I really took a liking to that part of the real estate side because, it just gives me, a bit, a little bit more creativity to, kind of work with. And, people ask me like, how did you get into that? Like, how can you decorate a house? I'm like, well, me growing up, like I've always been into old cars. And so, I like the whole restoration process and stuff like that. It's like, we'll take an old car and do whatever. So it's kind of like the same concept, except it's with a house. And so, it kind of, it kind of was like a natural thing, to me. And then also I've been working with some great people who've kind of like shown me some different things and stuff like that. So, it's something that I really, do enjoy doing. And, and then other than that, I mean, the modeling and acting stuff comes along, which is something I definitely thought that I would never do. It literally came from, I did a photo shoot for a client of mine that I had. She needed someone who had played sports. And so I went in and I did the photo shoot. And, people asked me, like, do you do this full time? I'm like, no, I'm just, trying to help a friend out or whatever. So they was like, you need to, apply to some agencies and stuff like that. And, fast forward, I finally ended up doing it, and they reached back out to me. So I ended up signing a contract with a talent group. And so basically they find, modeling jobs for me or commercials, whatever it may be. And, I audition for them like over the phone, and then like, that's it. And it's crazy because like, I actually did a commercial for Disney, and, and I'm like, I'm still looking at it to this day. I'm like, how did I end up on a Disney commercial? Like, it's crazy. And I did one recently with, I did a photo and video shoot with Adidas too. And so, like I said, that's just one of the things, just by being open-minded, and also just, like I said, the networking and meeting people. Like, like I said, this person just reached out to me because they remember me from the gym and was like, hey, like, you fit the description, like, will you do this? And then somehow it just ended up to me doing a commercial with Disney and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I it's something that I'm taking a liking to, and I definitely want to do a lot more with that this year. So yeah, that's something high on my list of priorities right now.
Oh, awesome, man. That is amazing. So what I want to ask you now, man, is um, just say for the young athletes in the Wiregrass or back at
Mhm.
Abbeville, what do you want those kids to take from your story? If they sitting there listening to you talk, what do you want them to take from your story?
And do what you want to do, and do it at your pace, and don't like do it when don't feel pressure to do anything just because somebody tells you it's the right thing for you, because it might not be, or it could be, but it might not be the right timing. And like I said, just do stuff that's gonna you know that you're passionate about, because you don't do anything that you're passionate about, like you're going to be miserable. And I found that out like throughout my career, whether it was with football or with some of the things that I've done after football. And another thing that definitely down there in that area, like where we're from, another piece of advice that I would say, and is ironic because I actually got this from Miss Carol, and I'm pretty sure you've heard about her passing today.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I remember, in high school, and I feel like she probably told this to a lot of students, too. And like, it really, like, meant something to me, years after. But one thing that she said, leave home.
Mm.
And at that time, like, I didn't really understand it. And I don't want people to think that, it's a bad thing by leaving home or saying like, forget home or nothing like that. But what she meant by that was, leave home and go see other places, like go
Mm.
experience other cultures. Because the thing is, home is always going to be here. Like, I
Always.
can call my mom right now and like I got somewhere to go. I can
Yeah.
go home at any time. But just get out and experience the world, meet other people, see how other people live. Like, I never thought that I would live in Canada. I never thought that I would I went to Japan last year. I went to Italy the year before. And just seeing like how other people live, like it's pretty like mind blowing how different like things are in other places, but it's also like a great thing to see. And like I said, home is always gonna be home. You're always gonna be welcome home. But yeah, that would be definitely one of the things I would say. If you don't do anything else, try to go see some other places if you ever get the opportunity, because you might just like it. You might end up moving to some of these places. I have some teammates that I played with in college that went overseas and played, and they're still living over there now with families and everything. Yeah, so
Wow.
you never know what you might run into or what you might like whenever you go out to these other places.
Okay. Awesome, man. I want to ask you this also. I know I saw you running for something, and I couldn't tell, and I went and I voted for you. But so how do people get involved with that, and how can they go and vote for you? To help you
So
win.
yeah, so I'm in the running for Mr. Health and Fitness, and it's a magazine, and so basically the winner of it, will get a feature in the magazine. It's also like a cash prize and stuff like that. So the competition just consists of your everyday person that just kind of takes fitness seriously. Like, not everybody on there is going to be all super cut or whatever, and not everybody's on there going to be super strong. But it's just like their story and how fitness has kind of changed their life. So I don't know. I just randomly entered the competition, not knowing anything about it, and they actually ended up reaching back out to me and told me that they wanted me to run it. And so I was like, let's just see where this goes. But like I said, it's a long competition. They won't crown a winner until April.
Okay.
And so there's different rounds and elimination rounds. The actual next elimination round is tomorrow, so they'll cut it down to like the top 15 in each group. But you can vote every day for free. You just click on the link and just click vote, and that's all it is to it. And actually today, up until like 9 o'clock, the votes count is double. So yeah, I definitely entered in that because fitness is definitely something that kind of helped mold me. Ironically, I'm doing my first bodybuilding competition next month. So
Awesome.
I'm definitely in prep for that right now. Looking forward to it. So that'll be something new for me as well too. So, but yes, definitely. If you guys want to go vote, feel free. I really appreciate it if you do.
Most definitely, most definitely. Man, I sure appreciate you coming on today, man. I learned a lot of things about you, man, that I didn't know. I just remember you, man, being on the school bus. We were going to play basketball practice, man. And
Yeah.
I look up and I saw you with the Washington Redskins, man. I said, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't even
Yeah,
think a lot of people knew that. I don't even think a lot of people knew I went to college because, you know, like social media wasn't that big when we were in school. And then, you know, like I said, like we weren't a football school. So there was no signing day at the school or nothing. Like I think I went to Dothan to a hotel and they did like a little media day or something there. But like, as far as like anything at the school, like nothing happened.
nothing.
Because I remember I came home one time, I think it might have been after my like sophomore, junior year, and I saw somebody like, hey, what you doing now? Like, yeah, I'm, you know, at JSU, like I'm been get ready to go to the NFL, and like they didn't even know I was playing ball. So but I don't think a lot of people knew.
Man, yeah, man. I'm so proud, man. Proud
Yeah,
of you, man.
appreciate
And
it, man.
like you say, man, you one of those guys always humble, that I knew, man, and you deserve every bit of it, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I definitely appreciate you coming on the show, and maybe we'll have you back some other time, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
just
it.
let me know, man. Anytime.
I do that, man. I do that. All right, man. We got Monte Lewis, man. And I really appreciate everybody watching in. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank y'all.
All right, man. No problem.